Hello everyone. So today we're going to be talking about Purim and science fiction. So a happy Shushan Purim to everyone in Jerusalem, and we are encouraged to take the joy of Purim throughout every day of the year. So happy Purim, no matter, we had today's Shushan Purim, but to celebrate the joy of Purim year-round. So when we think of Purim and Purim Torah, it's something that is fun and spontaneous. You have many spiels, Purim's acts, because the whole story of Purim is one big play. That God is the backdrop of this play. God is everything in all of reality. But God is concealed behind this play, behind the story of Purim. And so that's true for everything in life, that we read the headlines and we think that the story is one thing, but really we have to appreciate the backdrop. And that's what Purim teaches us. And that's what Mordechai, along with Esther, the heroes of the Purim story, that's what they teach us. Is that through fasting and prayers and learning Torah, that everything changed around. The entire events of the Purim story changed around. But yet it's such an enigma, because if you look at the history books and people try to rack their brains and try to figure out what does the world say historically about the Purim story? And it seems to be something that eludes historians. So on the one hand, it seems like a story that is escaping our definition of space and time of our historical books. But on the other hand, it's a very holy Jewish tradition. It's a holiday that we've been celebrating around 2,500 years, and we believe most definitely that this happened. This is not some work of fiction. And what do we make of that? So that's the definition of a Purim story and a Purim Torah, is that it seems to be something at first that may be fictional, but it's actually 100% real. So a very good way to understand, for instance, the genre of science fiction is like that, is that you have something that initially seems very much fictional, but there are very much real world elements to it. Not all of it, but elements of it. Like any dream has a lot of nonsense, a lot of silliness, but there are points to any dream, especially maybe those things that you think about, that you try to make sense of inside of a dream that seem to be real. And so that's the nature of all of reality currently. It's called we're living in exile. To be living in exile, we don't yet have the Holy Temple rebuilt. We don't yet have Mashiach. We don't have that time that you expect from any heroic story of eternal peace and tranquility, right? The end of the story of Purim is great joy and light and celebration, but they were still under the reign of Achashverosh, of King Achashverosh. It was not yet the final redemption, which we are still waiting for. But yet, any heroic story, you do expect there to be a scene at the end where you have celebration. So too in the Purim story, you have that scene at the end where you have celebration and tranquility. That is until the next movie, right? You have to keep on having movies. So keep on having books. So you have you're okay for a little while, and then the hero has to go on their next adventure, their next journey. So if we think again about fiction and about dreams, so we can try to figure out, and this is like a Purim way to look at the world, try to figure out what is real about this? So if you take science fiction and you take the most famous number in all of science fiction, what's the most famous number in all of science fiction? You can take a guess. So that number is hands down, I mean, maybe there's some debate, I don't know, but generally people will say 42. And what's 42? So 42 is, as many people know, especially if you're into science fiction, is the answer to life, the universe, and everything. Of course, what else would 42 be? So the first lesson of a Purim Torah, this is a Purim inspired, or Purim themed, but more so Purim inspired, as we'll explain, is that we're having fun with it. We're not taking ourselves too seriously, and it's we say things spontaneously, and so we want to. One of the things that we say spontaneously is we sometimes will have the answer before we have the question. So, as this science fiction book, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. So what's the big joke? What's the big joke? That it's the you have this number 42. That's the answer to life, the universe, and everything. The big joke is that what's the question? That's like a Purim Torah, is that you're coming up with answers, and you're not the questions. You figure out the questions over time. Right? You spontaneously you already are giving the answers. You're already giving the punchline. So that's like all of how Mordechai views the Purim, the tale of Purim. If you ask Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, what's the most important part of Purim? He'll say the miracle of Purim. So you're already living, someone like Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, someone like Mordechai, is already living with the reality that Purim is already, even during the days of Purim, when it was a harsh decree against the Jewish people, God forbid, someone like Mordechai is already seeing that it's going to be good, it's going to be revealed good, it's going to be a holiday. We're going to celebrate this as a holiday. It's like a time traveler from the future who comes to our present day. He already sees how things are headed. And so that's what a hero, like a time traveling science fiction hero is, like a futuristic thing. Right? Science fiction things are generally set in the future. That's the whole thing. It's futuristic. So the Mordechai saw already that this is going to be a holiday. These days of Purim are going to be celebrated, and but what there's work to do. We have to pray. We have to fast, and we have to learn Torah. You learn Torah in public with 22,000 children, and we have to think in a heroic way. One of the things also about science fiction is you travel in space. So when you travel in space, anything is possible. Maybe you can go to different dimensions, different realities, different universes, travel through space and time. So you start thinking in a very expansive, very open way. A world of possibilities before you. So in this book, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, so the number 42. So the other joke, the first joke is that the author just says the answer. It doesn't explain what the question is. The other joke is that 42 was seemingly chosen at random. But we can say, and this is like a Purim approach to life, is that if something is so has caught such interest for so many years, then there's got to be some deeper significance to it, because otherwise it would just be kind of boring and we would lose interest in it. So 42 is in some ways the answer to life, the universe, and everything, because that is the number of journeys that the Jewish people went on in the desert before entering the Holy Land, before entering Israel. And it's explained that every Jewish soul goes through 42 journeys in their lifetime. So if you want to know the answer to life, the universe, and everything, 42. That's correct. We go through These 42 journeys, the Jewish people, and that's the experience of the soul in this world, is that we're always journeying. Right? A hero has to journey. You have to go on an adventure. So anyone who's a hero in training, you have to first know that. You have to accept the mission. You have to know that your soul came down to this world for a specific mission and purpose. And the soul came down to this world it's like an adventure, right? It's an adventure story. But you have to go journeying. So you go on these 42 journeys. So in many ways, the most important journey, and this is also, again, we said like the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy is, we can call it like a dream, where there's a lot of silly things, but there's a few things that are actually like very correct, and that's kind of like, you have to have a little bit of truth to have it be compelling, right? Like any dream, if you really, or any good movie for that matter, any good fiction book for that matter, you have to have a little bit, some sparks of truth hidden within this fictional realm or book or story. So what's in some ways what's the most important of the 42 journeys that go on and the soul goes on in life? So that is the encampment. There's 42 encampments. The encampment called Harada. Now Harada, so it's the name of the place, but it also is a word. Harada is, anyone who speaks Hebrew knows that this is to be anxious, anxiety. So what is the other thing that they tell you in Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy? Is you're journeying, like every person, every soul is like a world, it's like a galaxy, like a universe. So as we're journeying, we're hitchhiking through the galaxy, right? One stop to the next on our 42 journeys. And we have to make sure not to be anxious. Don't panic. That's the other thing that they tell you. As you're journeying through these journeys through life, these 42 journeys through life, because that's the secret of life, the universe, and everything. There's these 42 journeys through life. Don't be anxious. Don't panic. That's on the cover of this of the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. This book that you're taking with you as you travel from world to world. So we can already kind of see what is the real book. That's in the world of fiction, but what is the real book that we take as we travel from world to world? So that's the Torah. It says that the Torah, if you have any, like in the Purim story, you have some situation that's dire and difficult, seems dark and dreary. So what do? You learn Torah. That's what Mordechai did with the 22,000 children in public. Everyone knew, even Haman. So it was a public thing. So there's a self-sacrifice there. Every hero has to be selfless. But you have to stop at Harada. What does that mean? That don't panic. Don't panic. If you're being pursued, right? Any good hero is pursued by the villain of the story. But you have to turn that into to have fun with it. So that's what it says of Mordechai, is that not only did he not bow and prostrate himself before Haman, the villain of the story, he also, you could say that, and this is kind of like the way to look at it, is that he even smiled. This is the turning the pachad Yitzchak, the fear and trembling of Yitzchak into Yisachik. It's laughter. To turn any fear into laughter, and that's what a hero does. That's what Mordechai does. He's revealing the laughter and the joy, even in a situation that seems to be anything but something that you should laugh at. But he's laughing, not taking light of it. He's not whitewashing. The laughter itself is transforming the dark situation into a light-filled situation, transforming the dire and difficult situation into joy and celebration. That's what a hero does, right? How does a hero? You have all these heroic tales. They never explain how this actually happens. That a hero merits to that final scene where there's the joy and peace and tranquility at the end of the movie. How does that even happen? So you have to know the backdrop. Right? Hollywood's not going to tell you the backdrop. At least mainstream. Maybe some independent places will tell you. But the backdrop is you have to have faith, and you have to know that God is orchestrating the entire events. But not only that, not only is it faith, but you have to be heroic. God wants you to be heroic. You're not just sitting and praying and fasting. You're also taking action, practical action. So a hero is also journeying, also traveling. But it's God. God is asking the hero to go on that travel, go on that mission. So that's why it's the 42 journeys, because you have to be traveling. You can't just it's important to pray and to fast, but you also have to take practical actions because God wants you to do that. That's called the difference between emunah, faith, and bitachon, of trusting God, or having security that God is putting in you the ability to walk forward and to make decisions. That's what a hero does. Is he's deciding things. But he's together with God in this. He's aligned. His will is aligned with God's will. So he's bringing this about. The whole revelation of the Purim miracle in Mordecai. That's what he's doing. But he's doing it in a very very interesting way. First, he's not only is he not bowing and prostrating himself to Haman, he's smiling, and he's doing the most interesting things of not only fasting and praying, but also gathering 22,000 children together. So he's turning it into a play. That's the whole deeper meaning behind a Purim spiel, behind a Purim play. Is he's turning the whole story into a play, into a game. He's having a game with it. So if we look at Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, that's kind of the thing, is that you have this guy, and he's at first he's concerned that they're bulldozing his house, and then he realizes that, wait a minute, it's the whole world that's set to be bulldozed to make a bypass. So what is that in Torah? What does that represent? What's that a metaphor for? Is that we have to go from thinking about our own personal lives to thinking about the greater picture. Is that there's a greater story being told. God is telling a story, and we have to know that there's a backdrop to the story. So that's the first lessons in our day and age, is to realize that there's a behind the headlines, there's a story, there's a whole entire world that exists, which is our world, which is a world filled with miracles and wonders. And why don't we see it? Because there's the headlines that seem to be compelling, but really the real story is the backdrop. So you can say that's also a reason why the world doesn't have clear historical accounts about the Purim story. They have historical accounts, but the whole Purim story was, we're making the headline something that was for them it was the backdrop. Like today, the fact that the Amalek, the Haman of our generation, was killed on Parsha Zachor, when we read about the destruction of Amalek. That's Amalek is anyone who hates the Jewish people with a consummate hatred. It's the arch villain. You have the hero is like Mordecai, and the arch villain is someone who just hates Mordecai, hates the Jewish people with a consummate hatred. So the Haman of our generation was killed as we're reading this about wiping out Amalek on Shabbos, on Parsha Zachor. And we have to connect the dots. This is, it's not hard, but we have to know that what is the real story. That's when we learn Torah and teach Torah, and educators, for instance, of Torah are like on the front lines in many respects, because Torah is really that's how you get to the final scene. It's not only faith. Faith is also, it's also through faith, but it's through teaching Torah. That's what Mordechai did. And then after he learned Torah with the 22,000 children, then that's when the king's sleep was aroused. And then he called for his book of Chronicles, and to see that Mordechai had saved his life prior from this assassination attempt, but Mordechai was never rewarded. And that's the whole turnaround of the story. And then another thing from Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy is that you have this person who's caught off guard. This Arthur Dent, right? He's in his bathrobe. He's in a robe. So to be in a robe is very much related to Purim as well. What the whole story is about robes. It's about, we dress up, right? Dress up on Purim. And what's a common thing that kids dress up as on Purim? So either Mordechai, let's say boys, what do they dress up? So girls, so they dress up as Queen Esther. But what do boys dress up as? So either Mordechai or the high priest, the Kohen Gadol. So that's a complete reversal. All this other Purim is also like reversal. V'nahafachu. Everything transformed and reversed. Like a heroic story, like we said. How do you get to the happy ending of a heroic story? So the lesson is through the models that we learn from Purim. Is that you have a dark and dire situation, and it becomes light-filled and happy. That's the model of Purim. So where do you see robes in Purim? Right, as we said, Arthur Dent in Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy is caught off guard. World's about to be destroyed, and so he's just wearing his bathrobe. So the start of the Purim story was that the King Achashverosh donned the garments of the high priest, as if to mock the Jewish people. That's the whole story in and of itself. That's why it was not a good idea for the Jews to participate in the feast. But that's how we begin with the story. Is that he's donning the robe and the garments of the high priest. Right? Purim is about a lot of costumes. If you have a hero, you have to. What's the costume of the hero? Every hero needs a costume, right? So on Purim, there's some very good people to dress up as. So a very good thing for boys to dress up as is the high priest, because Purim is about the reversal, doing the opposite. So we can reach that level, that anyone can reach the level, the highest levels, even to be some great rabbi, some great person on Purim. But what do we also see is that Mordechai also was adorned with the royal garments, and this flowing royal robe, and so to be in a robe is also like very much a Purim thing. So that's also just an aside of another thing that's interesting from this book of science fiction, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. But again, what does it mean to hitchhike through the galaxy? Is that every soul that goes through these 42 journeys, and we have encampments along our life. We go from journey to journey, adventure to adventure. Like a hero, once they finished one adventure, then it's like, when's the next, right? As long as God has gifted us with this gift of life, every breath is a gift. So every moment we have to see what is the next thing, next adventure. And so that can be a very good thing. But we have to know that we're headed somewhere. So the goal of the 42 journeys was to enter the land of Israel in peace and prosperity. That's the ultimate goal, right? In peace and prosperity. So in terms of the events happening now, so how do we view the events happening now? As that there's a whole thing called the Sivos Hashem, the army of Hashem, of God, and what is the main thing that this army does is instituted by the Lubavitcher Rebbe, is to do mitzvos and to study Torah. So we all have to play our part, both in terms of the self-sacrifice of the Jewish people in terms of the actual war taking place now, and they should all be protected. But all of us can do our part, really, is through the good deeds that we do, through the mitzvahs that we do, and also through Torah learning, as we learn from Mordechai in the Purim story. So again, this is what's the question? We said the answer is 42. So what's the question? So the question is, first of all, you have to know what the questions are. Right? In Judaism, we in some ways the question is more important than the answer, right? Because you have to know how to ask the right questions. You have to know enough to ask the right questions. And so the Torah is a book of instruction. That's what one of the meanings of Torah is, instruction. We also mentioned it's hatara. It clears up the path ahead. If you see a world that's just dark and difficult, then learn Torah, and you'll see a clear and light-filled path ahead. You'll see a world that's actually filled with wonders and miracles, right? It just completely changes how you look at it. Like Mordechai, we said in the previous video, is like the time traveler from the future who comes and he reveals the future state, which in the days of Purim was that it was destined to be this holiday, this very holy and happy day that we celebrate to this very day. But the other lesson is that ask questions, because really that's what propels a person forward. As you have the better questions, the better it is. Because not to suffice, to always ask better and better questions, and to know that the book that we take with us, our Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, that's the Torah itself, and that as we study Torah, and to realize that this is something that's exciting, and that we're living the story out in our day-to-day life. This is the main story is the backdrop. That's the Torah learning. That's the mitzvah observance, and to start making connections between the Torah that we learn and actually what's taking place in the world. It's a very fun activity that kids especially enjoy listening to, these connections between the Torah and the world, between what's actually happening in the world. So I encourage you to view Torah in that way. Like the Alter Rebbe, the founder of Chabad, said, to live with the times, which means to live with the weekly Torah portion of the week, to live with the holidays, the month. For instance, this is the month of Adar. The mazel of the month of Adar is the fish. So what's another famous thing from Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy is so long and thanks for all the fish. Because why is that so funny? The dolphins are escaping the earth, and they're just thanking us for the fish. So why is that so hilarious? So the sense, every Hebrew month has a sense, according to Sefer Yetzirah, the book of formation, actually attributed to Abraham. That's call it like the first book of Kabbalah. It's attributed to Abraham himself, and so every month that is explained there has a sense to it. There's 12 senses of the soul, not 5. There's 12. So the sense of the month of Adar which is the month of Purim, is laughter. And the symbol, like the mazel of the month of Adar, is the fish. So no wonder that it's funny to say so long and thanks for all the fish, because that relates very much again to everything we've been talking about, which relates to all of fiction, especially that you see it in science fiction, because that's what we said, that Mordechai is like a futuristic time traveler. It's like revealing the future today, and that's Purim. Everything relates back to Purim. Everything that we're experiencing today, you can say it all is all just a replaying of the Purim story, and you have characters, and you have a play, and everything's happening and to realize that it's not fictional. This is something very much real. So long, and thanks for all the fish.